What's the weirdest conspiracy theory that you believe in? Those DNA ancestry companies are just a front for the FBI to store biohistory on everyone. May not have been how they started, but they are definitely doing it now. Jordan played minor league baseball to serve a suspension from NBA for gambling. DB Cooper got his money and went back to work on Monday morning as if nothing happened, and the guy was such a milquitoast nondescript blank of a man in real life that no one noticed. Theory I heard is that he lost his money but still went back to work on Monday. This explains why none of the money ever turned up anywhere, why there were no missing persons reports filed, and why the FBI never turned up any leads to people who knew him. Nothing happened. He showed up on Monday maybe with some scrapes and bruises, but you might not have noticed if he's wearing a suit/tie to work. He lost the money, so his lifestyle didn't change at all, and there was no reason to think anything was amiss with him. The hollow internet theory: 80% of the people I interact with literally have the exact same opinion as someone else, like down to the exact language they use. Like, for whatever reason this happens on Reddit, if you ask them why they viscerally hate suburbs, they all just have the exact same opinion, bringing up the exact same extremely niche complaints. Either they've been dogmatized extremely hard or are just bots. There's no Illuminati secret society with robes and secret handshakes and other silly the richest 100 or so people get together every so often and decided who does what, when and where. Sure, heads of state can go rogue here and there, starting brush fire wars and but the real matters are in the hands of the people that control the money, and we all know money makes the world go round. UFO/UAP fall into three categories. The first is your average Joe who can't figure out it's a simple balloon. The second is that some parts of government do not disclose sensitive information to others. For example, a certain agency of the government may be working on top secret aircraft, and they do not inform any other agency of what they are doing, which leads to the CIA saying we don't know, which might just be true, since another agency is essentially hidden. Finally, the third, some UFO/UAP are really unknown, unique phenomenon that we are unaware of, possibly from another dimension for all we know, but it's truly unknown. This one is a bit of a stretch, but in South Korea, there's a theory that the pop entertainments are connected to the government to distract from the controversies that they get in. There's also another one. There's this pop entertainment called SM, and they are known for mistreating the idols under that company, but there's a theory that SM has a torture room that they use when the idols don't want to comply. The only reason why I believe this is because SM has a long history of mistreating their idols, and a few of them have even died from this mistreatment. The whole SJW/woke thing is an organized attempt to fracture the left, having people fight over small like who can and can't be racist, or who's appropriating who benefits no one, except those who want to hinder our social influence. And boy did it work. You got whole groups of people voting against their best interest because they're anti-woke or some nonsense like that. The fossil fuels industry caused the historic and current fear-mongering surrounding nuclear energy. Then they blamed it on liberal hippies, so future leftists would look back and think nuclear energy wasn't a good idea. Agents of the fossil fuels industry caused the 3 Mile Island incident and the poor government handling following the incident, so Americans would forever be overly concerned about the nuclear energy industry. It's not really the weirdest conspiracy, but it's not one that gets discussed often. I'm not sure I believe that Randy Rhoads died in that plane crash. He had already told Ozzy he was quitting after that tour because he wasn't to go teach music at UCLA. He had a documented fear of flying, yet chose to go with an amateur pilot who he knew was high on coke to steal a plane in the middle of the night. Finally, after the crash, the coroner said that the body was so badly burnt that he couldn't even ID him through dental records and was only able to get a positive ID due to the jewelry he was wearing. For some reason, given all the haunted hotel stories in the US, I believe that the CIA purposefully rigged some of these rooms with little backquote pranks to see how people react psychologically under such conditions. It sounds insane, I know, but they have been known to do stranger things. Low stakes theory, but the whole Oscars/Will Smith/Chris Rock stunt was staged. The Oscars have been declining in popularity for years and cover did the movie industry no favors. They were on the way to be completely obsolete. What do you think is gonna happen next year? People are going to tune in more to see what jokes comedians will make. The talking heads talk about added security, if Chris Rock will say anything, and if Will Smith makes a surprise appearance. Hell, it wouldn't surprise me if they reconciled right before the ceremony and attended together. The push for electric cars and high-speed trains are a ploy to limit freedom of movement. You ask yourself, but PDOP, those are advanced technologies that are pushed by the most progressive groups and will free us from gasoline. Well, precisely. Now it will make you dependent on that form of transport. So you introduce doubt as to why, usually by referencing some shadowy and unknown group that wants control over you. In this case we say EVs are easier to control the refueling point of, since you can't easily carry around a battery, while a gas can is relatively simple. High-speed rails are easy to control as well because of their static nature, so that adds the doubt factor. You introduce a bit of paranoia while linking it to something that seems plausible, which you can reference by linking articles that either you wrote or that you handpicked as proof of your argument. This is an old KGB trick. They would create a rumor and pay a random paper in a neutral nation like Finland to publish it with vague references to an unnamed source, then link that as their source as they spread the disinformation further and further up the chain of rumors. It's insidious and a type of old school espionage disinformation campaign that gave us such rumors as the CIA created AIDS and Reagan ordered the introduction of crack to minority neighborhoods. From there it takes a life of its own as people themselves add details that they want to use to justify the original conspiracy theory. In this case someone would add something like they'll use Bluetooth as a way to track us and signal the EV to autopilot to and shut down in a place where they can easily detain dissidents. Then you wrap it up by mentioning something real world to tie it in. I'd use those Tesla crashes as proof of concept tests, or say that the Chinese have been fiddling with the idea. That, folks, is how you create a conspiracy theory. That Google listens to your conversations and tailors advertisements to this. There were a few videos where this guy would clear his cache and whatnot, talk about a topic with specific buzzwords, and then look at the ads that came up after. There were a lot relating to his topics, even some way he didn't realize, because he didn't use it as a buzzword. It could be that one effect which I forgot the name of where you noticed something, and then you start noticing it everywhere, but it would have to be a massive coincidence in this case MO. Not that I necessarily believe it, but rather I wish with all my being that is true. But the phantom hypothesis. Basically the Roman emperor and pope got together and thought they would be better remembered if they were the rulers during year 1000 AD, and they made up Charlemagne and about 300 or so years of history to make that happen. This also explains why there is so little written history from the Dark Ages. Basically they didn't happen, so that's why little was known. Now to be fair, thanks to Asian culture and historical records, this conspiracy theory can pretty much decidedly be proven false. But I just love the idea of how incredibly petty the Pope and Emperor of Rome would have had to have been to make this happen. The Grateful Dead was, from the beginning, produced and managed by CIA handlers to be the Pied Pipers of middle-class drug use as a means of depoliticizing baby boomers in the 1960s, turning them away from the anti-war and civil rights movements and toward psychedelic, navel-gazing hedonism and consumerism. Ken Kesey was also recruited to help them propagate LSD use nationwide. Their concert parking lots have been the largest psychedelic market in America for over 50 years, protected by federal law enforcement as a counterculture pressure release valve from actually challenging the mix control over the country. Lyme disease was accidentally released from a government lab on Plum Island, then covered up. The initial discovery is really conveniently near a classified animal disease research facility on Plum Island. The government was doing all kinds of stupid biological, nuclear, chemical, and even psychic weapon research during that time period. It isn't at all far-fetched that they would try to cover it up if they accidentally released a brand new disease into the wild. Unlike a lot of conspiracy theories that involve collusion among a massive group of people, this one involves a small group of scientists who are already working together on classified projects. It would even make a great bioweapon as it is spread only by infected ticks and not transmissible human to human.